everyone. We're back again with Damien here on Money Market Moves with Damien. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus, traveling. Well, I've been traveling a little bit, and I'm sure he has. All right, Damien. Sorry, I had a little thing come up here. So, what you been up to the last couple weeks here? Anything interesting, as always?
Watching the markets bounce.
Oh yeah,
So like they always say, you buy the market when it's bleeding, and that's exactly what got rewarded this time. Like CNBC, everybody's saying how bad the economy is going to be. If you bought 3 weeks ago, I don't even think 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, you already made 10%. So, you
right.
know, just wait till people start crying on CNBC. Don't believe anything they're saying because they're trying to get the stock cheaper from you. Just start buying, averaging down, and then close your eyes. It's America. They'll do what it takes to get the market inflated back up.
Yeah, I mean, so just in my own personal experiences, and just talking with people, people obviously freaking out about the initial shock to the tariffs. And I was like, I don't know. I think now's the time to buy. Whenever the market just takes a dump like that, now's the time to like buy, especially the stock that for companies that are good. What are some of the stocks I think that you saw that maybe made that kind of positive jump that had that huge dip and they've recovered? What are some of the ones that you've
Just look
noticed?
at Nvidia. I mean, Nvidia was in the low 90s, I think, for a little bit, right? It's already like 20% back up. Like when something like this happens, you can pretty much, that's the good thing about the market crashing a little bit. You can pretty much buy anything that's gone down and it'll just bounce right back up on the wave. So the same wave that hits them down will hit them back up. And I think the real test is, and this is like, maybe your viewers can attest to this. There was one point last week where I think there was a bad number. I think it was like a 0.3 contraction in GDP first quarter. And that day we just got bought right back up to positive. We finished on the highs and then there were good earnings on top. But when something like that happens, where like we've been in a downtrend and bad news comes out, and we're like, oh, okay, here we go again. We're gonna go back down. Instead of going down, everybody buys it. Then that's kind of like the turn where it goes from a bear market overall to a bull market, Something that would, generally maybe create like a down 3 or 4% a few weeks ago, even. And we finished the day pause. That's like the best sign ever. That's basically the sign that people use to like, okay, well, anytime there's a dip now, we're gonna buy again. So that's what happened. And I'm not on the clear, like between all the things that are still going on. I think people a little bit early to take it up, but I've seen this happen before where people start taking it up and it really takes a lot of bad news to bring it back down and it just doesn't go back down. So, essentially, I don't think we're in the clear with all the tariffs and everything else, but it's probably a time to start buying on dips for sure.
So now, if you've been kind of standing on the sidelines, you're saying now is the time to really start getting back in because you kind of think things are going to start heading in that, I guess, in a
Yeah,
positive direction.
yeah, because it's not about where the market currently is, it's about projections. And I feel like the people analyzing the market, found the last little downturn to be a great buy opportunity. And they may not be get a second chance to buy it at that price. So it's not so much like, are we going to do really well economically? It's more like, eh, we went down. That was a really cheap price. We don't, people, there's buyers at those prices, basically, is what it is,
Right.
what it comes
What
down
are
to.
you what are you looking for in those like is there any particular like metric for I mean, trying to not necessarily I don't know, like not necessarily put you on the spot, obviously, but at the same time, we're just chatting about ideas. But is there any kind of, I guess, metric you're looking for? I mean, it doesn't have to be company related, but is there something that stands out to you? Like, okay, now I'm kind of jumping in. Is there?
Yeah, I think the VIX going down is the clear sign. For people that don't know what the VIX is, it's a volatility index, and that's something that goes up when there's more market risk. So the VIX going down is a sign that the market's more stable, hence it's more likely to go up. So, you can have a VIX, in the corner of your charts just to see what it's doing. And if it's progressively lower, then it's better to buy. I mean, just to give you an idea, when the market was going down, I think the VIX jumped from like 17 to 50, or it does normally anyway, so you can kind of see how that works. So people will just wait for those moments sometimes and they short the VIX, but you can just use it as a tell. And then number two is what I just described, where there's bad news, but people still buy the bad news. So instead of bad news causing a whole market rout that day, it was just the opportunity to buy, and people don't care about the contraction of the GDP or the economy. They're like, well, market's down 1.5%. I'm just gonna buy. And not only like Americans buy, you can see like like overnight. I don't know if you people notice when okay, the market stops at a certain point, like 5,400, right? Maybe you notice it too. And you wake up the next day, it's 5,500 already. So like, you have people buying all night long from all over the world. People can buy
Yeah.
US futures from everywhere. So once the turn happens, it's like, it's necessary to hold your positions longer as well. So I would just hold now if you have something. I don't think anything's going to really take down the market, because if anything happens, they're just going to do something else with it. Like nothing that this administration does lasts more than like a few days, apparently. I mean, from what I can tell. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, he'll put tariffs on something, take it off, whatever. So like, it's basically showed again for the fifth time that like he's not going to stick to policies that ruin him economically on purpose anyway. Like he might do it, but he's not gonna just let the watch everything sink. Trump, he's not, and that's like called the Trump put actually. Trump put,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's a phrase that CNBC uses, but it's basically the right to sell at a higher price. So basically, with the put, you're more confident in buying. That's what that means. If you have a put option, you're more confident in buying. So it's called the Trump put for a reason, because if he sees it going down, he's going to do just something else to wriggle out of it. So
Right.
he
That's
he
interesting.
liked, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's interesting. I never thought of the Trump put. I like that.
It's not, I
That
didn't
has
come
a
up with it. I can't take
no,
credit
no, I
for it.
know.
It's something that the news channels
Sure you
often,
can. You can go ahead. That's Damien,
I can
buddy.
take
Came
credit
up with
for
that.
Macedonia, Greece, Romania being Turkish, but
Right.
like, I mean, they have our food and language and everything
That's
else,
right.
but the Trump put, no, that's not me.
Won't go there. Yeah, I'm like I'm a financial idiot. So I'm the other side of the equation. You're the smart one, I'm the dumb one.
I
So I
wouldn't
was
say
like,
that.
I was like, well, thank you. But yeah, so like I was thinking about like what you said, the VIX. I never thought of that. You're using that as a way to kind of I guess assess risk in a sense, right? Now,
No, what the VIX stands for is volatility index, basically. So the higher it is, the more volatile it
more
is. The more
volatile.
volatile it is, the more likely it is to go down. So it's got an
Right.
inverse relationship with the market. It's not like the market cannot go down when the VIX is low. It can, but the VIX being high is an indication that the market could go down a lot, if you all understand that. So like VIX is actually something good to look at, and it's hard to predict. Like people try to trade the VIX, or what will happen is, if you're a big hedge fund, sometimes you'll be long the VIX because, excuse me, if you have a lot of stock, the one fear you have is the market tanking, right? So if you have calls on the VIX where it's going to spike up, that's a good hedge against the market going down. Because if your stocks go down, you make money on the VIX on the options. So it's
Right.
actually one of those trades where like the more money you have, the better it'll work out, because you can just keep buying the VIX.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I want to say that I've seen other analysts talking about this, that as the stock, if a stock goes down, you obviously buy, that kind of brings down your average cost of your position. And that's a good thing for your
Oh,
portfolio as well.
cost averaging? Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the word you're looking for. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
nobody can predict the
Again,
exact bottom. So
financial idiot. So,
no, it's just a word. It's basically making your price average better as the price goes down. So you bought Nvidia at 120, you buy it at 110, at 195, and then instead of your initial purchase price being 120 and your average being 120, you make it like 105. So if it comes back to 105, then what you could do is like sell half your position. That way your risk has gone down quite a bit, where you're basically breaking even. But anything above 105 would then be profitable versus you having to wait till 120. That's why it's imperative to kind of, buy a little bit at the beginning and not so much and just cost average basically is what people do. Yeah.
Right. So layer in, right? You
Yes.
might buy a little bit, kind of see which way it goes. It seems to me, the other thing to keep in mind is like we've talked about this before, you're not going to invest in industries you're not familiar with or companies you're not familiar with. So if you know it's a company that's good, you've done the numbers, and it just happens the price of the stock goes down, in my opinion, it seems like you're buying it on sale, right? So depending on your strategy, like you're saying, you're kind of layering in or whatever, but you're acquiring more position size at a lower cost. I feel like that this is why these are great opportunities for wealth. Not to
Yeah.
get all freaked out by the emotions, like you're saying.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, this was a good buy, but I don't know. I just don't know like if we're really in the clear here, just because it's really dependent on one guy. I mean, he could come back tomorrow and say, "I'm not happy with China. I'm gonna keep the tariffs," and one more dip happens. So
Or what do you think of the idea that he's playing 4D chess? That like so he puts a tariff up there to really ruin China's leverage position, and that indirectly led to, or maybe directly as part of a policy or strategy, that led him to do something like the mineral rights contracts with Ukraine. I'm just throwing that out there. I know that's like, as an investor, like, how do you read that kind of thing? Does that even matter? It seems like you just feel like whatever. You're kind of focused on
who knows what
profit
the
margins,
minerals are in Ukraine even? I don't know.
right?
I'm sure there's some good stuff that they're fighting about, but overall, you don't, it's like at this level, there's no need to overcomplicate things like that. Basically, you're just like, bad news comes out and then we're not going down anymore. People are buying everything. So I think the trend is your best friend, they always said.
Your
The
trend
trend
is your friend.
is
That's
your
right.
friend. So, we're going down every day for a few weeks. Yeah, as long as we keep going down when bad news happens, we're short. But you figure out that, oh, bad news came out, at that point. And the indication of bad news is the market actually going down. It's not what you think bad news to be, because there's expectations of bad news sometimes. So it's not so much like, oh, market contracted 0.2 because they might have expected 0.3, so 0.2 is good news. It's that the market actually went down for a couple of hours after the news came out. That's an indication of bad news. News comes out, market actually goes down. It's officially worse than expected, and then it goes back the fuck up. That's when you start.
Right.
Okay, well, apparently people are buying no matter what now. That's the clear tell sign of, yeah, maybe I should get rid of my shorts and start getting long. That's the sign. Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
All right.
man. Yeah, I don't know. Like, is there any international things going on in your life? Traveling anywhere anytime soon? Shout out to Joey. He's in Vietnam right now, so he's
He's
actually
back in
been there.
Vietnam. Go
Yeah,
Joey.
he's been there for like, I don't know, a month, I think, and I think he just rented a place
Did
for
he?
like a year. Yeah, so hit him up and hang out at his place.
He rented a place. That's funny. I mean, the place
Yeah,
there is like actually so cheap compared to the US. It's crazy.
yeah.
It's funny,
Uh,
like if somebody like let's say lost a job in California, I was having a discussion the other day, and here in San Diego, I mean, you're paying at least 3,500 for a decent place.
yeah,
And in Vietnam, it's $300 a month for a decent
it's
place.
crazy. Yeah,
So
I
like
mean,
let's say you were looking for a job, does it make more sense to just hop on a quick flight and give yourself 12 months to look for a job in Vietnam? Or give yourself 1 month to look for a job here, because why would you pay bills here if you're not getting paid in the dollars? Like I was just thinking
big.
about that. I'm like, let's say, somebody's unemployed really quickly. Like, why would they stay here? I mean, it would make so much more sense just to put 2 grand down on a place there for like 3, 4 months and give yourself some ample time to find a new job, right?
Yeah, or or find new outlet in life. Yeah, exactly.
There's no reward given for spending the most amount of money in this world. I'll say that
Mm-mm,
as a
mm-mm.
sign off.
Yep. And there it is. All right, Damien, that's a sign off from now on. All right, well, we'll see you next week. Everyone, good luck out there and making some money in this crazy market. Talk to you later, Damien.
See you.
All right, man.